Please welcome your host, Nick Aldinger.
All right. Well, welcome to the 5th installment of Business Builder Insights. I'm your host, Nick Aldinger. We have another great show for you today, and we're thankful you are joining us, whether it's live or on our replay. If this is your first time watching, Business Builder Insights is a thought-provoking 6-part speaker series focused on helping you, the business owner and decision makers, develop a strategy to help scale your company. Over the course of the 6-part series, we have been interviewing dynamic panelists consisting of successful executives, entrepreneurs, and local subject matter experts who have been speaking on topics directly affecting small and medium-sized businesses. Business Builder Insights is absolutely free, and our goal is to simply equip you with the tools and resources necessary to positively affect your bottom line. And in today's segment, it's all about understanding what it takes to scale your business. We will be hearing from one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the Treasure Valley, Blake Hansen, founder and CEO of Alturas. But before we introduce Blake to the stage, I'd like to remind you to stick around for the Traction segment coming up later in the program, where Brent Oetken will be breaking down the process component as it relates to the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or also known as EOS. Brent will be introducing concepts such as Level 10 meetings, 100% strong, and rocks. So you want to be sure to stick around if you want to learn more about processes as it relates to your business. I also want to thank our sponsors for making the show possible. Our sponsors are heavily involved in the business community and are also an excellent resource for any small and medium-sized business owner. I'd like to thank our premier sponsor, Strategic Tax Solutions, BBSI, and Profit Creek. I'd like to thank our media sponsor, Iliad Media Group, and this month's session sponsor, IBL Events. And if you like the speakers and topics presented on our show, we invite you to attend the in-person signature event, Business Builder Day, on May 6, 2021 at Galaxy Event Center in Meridian. This event features keynotes, networking, business seminars and workshops, as well as featuring some of the best companies the Treasure Valley has to offer. Seminar seating is limited this year, so please register as soon as possible, and you could do so at businessbuilderday.com. All right, let's set the stage, and we're going to hear a quick message from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Blake Hansen.
If you're looking to grow your bottom line, join us to gain resources on growth strategies, social media, fraud protection, workplace culture, hiring, and more. Register to attend Business Builder Day, a free event for business professionals, May 6th at the Galaxy Event Center.
The internet is more important than ever, so why settle for unreliable? TDS Fiber Internet is all fiber all the way to your home. It's ready for anything. Video calls and video games? Yep. Smartphones and smart homes? You got it. Cable and DSL speeds are okay, but with TDS, files upload up to 40 times faster. So check the fine print. If you don't have great upload and download speeds, you don't have all fiber internet. Get the internet of the future. TDS Fiber Internet.
All right, we're back, and I am glad to be joined on the stage with Blake Hansen, founder and CEO of Alturas. Blake, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
You know, you've been instrumental not only for me, but so many people in the community with your advice and your guidance. But you've grown so many companies, not just one, not just two, but you've grown over 7 successful companies. They're 7-figure companies. They're doing quite well. And this topic, scaling your company, the 10X mindset, you are the perfect individual to have. So I really appreciate you joining us today. And just to kick it off, for those that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about your journey and a little bit about the companies that you currently have and are running?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm probably like most business owners and entrepreneurs, where I've just learned through a lot of bad mistakes and, falling on my face a lot, that you just got to keep picking yourself up, and you eventually look back and you kind of say, wow, am I actually here? Like, that's kind of crazy where we've come. I going back, I started as an investor as a kid. My dad was nice enough to get me exposed to the stock market when I was literally 11 years old. And so I got exposed to businesses and income statements and balance sheets when I was in high school, and ended up saving a chunk of money when I was in high school and then into college, and I was trading in the markets. And long story short, I lost all my money doing some really risky trading in the market, and actually was trading on margin, which means I was borrowing money against my portfolio. And I had a margin call where I had to literally borrow $5,000 from my twin sister to meet a margin call for Schwab. So like Charles Schwab said, you owe us money because the position dropped like a rock, and I literally lost all my money plus some. And that experience forced me into trying to find a better way of creating wealth and thinking about business, because up to that point it was kind of like, if the market was going up, I could make money. If the market was going down, I'd lose money, but I didn't really know how to do it right. And I latched onto the philosophies of Warren Buffett, the value investing philosophies, and really loved his operating model, which was owning a diversified set of businesses. And literally since I was in college, I've been out trying to build a diversified portfolio of operating companies just like that. So I was lucky enough to find application in Warren Buffett's investment philosophies in real estate. So I started investing in real estate, and my first few companies were in real estate and construction. And just like most entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, I took the platform of one successful business and those cash flows, and I used those cash flows to start another business. And then I built that business up using a partnership model that we can talk about, and took those cash flows to start another business. And so that's kind of how it's come along.
Okay, and that's great. And I this is interesting because you talked about at a young age being introduced to the financials, and that business acumen probably was a really important stage, an important aspect for you as you started building these companies, as being introduced at an early age from a business acumen
Sure, I
standpoint.
got lucky. It just means I made more mistakes earlier than some people. So, I don't know necessarily that knowing how to read a balance sheet or or an income statement gives you a competitive advantage in business. I mean, in the end, there are people that are amazing at that, and I have them in our organizations, and we have great, people that know that stuff. But yeah, as a foundation, understanding accounting and finance and numbers definitely has been helpful.
Okay. And so, we talked a little bit about scaling, and we're going to get into the partnerships, which is a great topic. But let's also talk about this 10X mindset.
Yeah.
So what is the 10X mindset, and how has it been important for you in scaling your companies?
Sure. So a few years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, a friend of mine, another business owner, he called me up and said that I should, we were an entrepreneurs organization together, which, was a side point. I really love peer learning. So I'm always trying to learn from my friends and have conversations with other business owners. And he told me that I should seriously consider going to this thing called Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan. And I've been going to Dan Sullivan ever since. Dan Sullivan is kind of a person that helps me think about my thinking around entrepreneurship. And Dan, he introduced me to the concept of 10X, and this is kind of the way he introduced it to me. He said, if you were to look at where you're at today and want to double your personal income, or double your income from your business, he said, a lot of times you just think, I'm just going to work harder. I can double my income. I'm just going to work harder. I'll put in some more hours. I'll work a few more hours a week. He said, but if you want to 10X your business or 10X your personal income, you can't just work harder. You have to change the infrastructure around you. You have to have a different caliber of talent. You have to have different processes. You have to have different procedures. You have to do things differently. And fundamentally, transform the way you think and the way you operate. So I think that's the starting point. There's actually a quote from Elon Musk, which I think helps kind of put this in context. And he says, stop being patient and start asking yourself, how do I accomplish my 10-year plan in 6 months? You'll probably fail, but you'll be a lot further ahead of the person who simply accepted it was going to take 10 years. And I think this is a great thought exercise. It's like, take yourself down that path and push your business through that hole that's required to get it to 10 years from now. And so a lot of the 10X mindset is really just thinking ahead and putting your business in a place where it can solve the problems that it will face with talent and that infrastructure that you can build today that will set you up to really ramp up and scale.
Do you think, based on what you've seen out there, because you deal with a lot of entrepreneurs and you hear a lot of stories, do you think people put obstacles that really aren't real, or because it's a preconceived notion that that obstacle must exist? And that mindset, are we just trained at an early age maybe to think of these obstacles as barriers?
Yeah, and let's talk about some of them, because I love consulting with my friends who are entrepreneurs. It's just like something I love to do. And I always get this like, well, Blake, how did you do this? Like, how did you really scale these companies? How is that possible? So, first of all, I think that one of the key problems that we face as business owners and as entrepreneurs is that we get in our own way. We actually think that we have to solve every problem. We think that we're like the CEO, chief executive officer, president, chief problem solver, chief innovator, chief answer the toughest questions, chief, like put everything on our own backs and solve everything in the business. And the reality is that mindset actually leads to all the bad behaviors that prevent us from scaling our businesses. And for some reason, I guess I just never saw myself as the expert within our companies. I always found people that knew more than me around different aspects of the business. And that allowed me to not have to solve all the problems. I literally didn't ever stand in the way. I was never the barrier of the company's growing. But I like to say you've got to learn how to replace yourself. And the key to scaling a business is really replacing yourself. Now, what does that mean? It means that you give the opportunity for others in your organization to do the work that you think you have to do. It's finding, like Dan Sullivan says, your unique ability skill set and partnering up and bringing other people into your organization that can do tasks that you're doing better. They literally can do things better than you. And then it's acknowledging, it's being humble enough to acknowledge that you can't solve every problem. But it's kind of funny. I had an example of this in one of my businesses. So my business partner, he comes to me one day and he says, Blake, I really appreciate you coming to a certain meeting in the business. But every time you talk, everyone looks at you because, you're the founder, you're the CEO of the parent company, you've been here from the beginning. And it's not that you're undermining me, but you're not giving me the chance to step up. He said, I would just really appreciate if I could run that meeting and not have you there. And at first I was like, oh my gosh, that's kind of like a blow to my ego. And then I was like, he said, you always preach letting us step up. And he's like, and right now I just want to step up. And I was like, yeah, of course. Like, I preach it, I say it. And for some reason, I wasn't allowing this particular partner to step up in that role. And the second I moved away and stopped going to that and stopped, being a part of it, that business just took off. And I found that we have talent. Sometimes it's like the newest intern or the newest employee. Sometimes it's someone that's been there for years or decades with us, and they're literally clamoring for the opportunity to prove themselves in the organization. And all you have to do is give them a little freedom and a little autonomy, and all of a sudden innovation comes from them. All of a sudden they're finding new opportunities. All of a sudden they're finding new channels to grow. And this is creating the entrepreneurial company. This is literally allowing your people to scale your companies without you being the one that has to scale the company. It starts to create this inertia. It starts to create like this momentum. And all of a sudden, what I found in my companies is now I've got business leaders across my companies in different organizations that are collaborating and finding new companies to create. They're finding new ways to innovate together. And I'm not there trying to make those pieces connect. I allowed the freedom and autonomy to allow the businesses to scale.
Now there's probably some business owners right now watching, and they're probably saying, well, it sounds great, but I can't afford that person right now because I'm trying to replace myself. I might not be able to afford that person right now. What would you say to that question?
Well, I mean, there's fundamentally, I think that small business, because of the limited liability company structure, there's a fundamental problem. And that is at the end of every year, businesses and business owners say, okay, well, I'm a 50-50 partner with this other guy. We're going to leave a little bit of the money in the business and the rest of it we're going to pay out. Well, I see this happen like on a quarterly basis and sometimes on a monthly basis where literally every dollar that's being generated is passed out. It's distributed to the owners. I think that's the single most detrimental thing that you can do in your business. I think that you as a business owner are literally standing in the way of the success of your business because you think, well, I'm entitled to it. This is my money. I actually, from the very beginning, set my businesses up where the only distributions we make are to help the owners pay their taxes. Every other dollar is left in the business. So from just like a basic practice, I always have had cash sitting in the bank that I can use for experimentation. And most of that experimentation is to buy talent. It's to buy the talent, the future talent that I need to grow and scale my businesses that I otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. I mean, not to like, I'll give you another example. Like, I literally, from the day I graduated college through 7 years into my business, I drove a $700 1991 Honda Accord. Could I afford something else? Certainly. But I literally developed a mindset that was every dollar I can leave in the business is a dollar that I can use to grow and scale my businesses. Every dollar I leave in the business is the opportunity to hire talent that takes load off of my plate. And by doing that, I could afford to really hire people in advance of the growth.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. Like, that sounds great, but if your business isn't there where you don't have the extra cash, you may not have cash reserves or the extra cash flow, how do you do this? You have to start giving your people the opportunity. Right now, everywhere across the organization, you create a culture where your people literally are allowed to step up. You give them opportunity, you expect it, and you start developing this performance culture, this excellence culture, where people, they have to get there, they have to deliver, like you expect it, and they want to deliver, and all of a sudden you expect it, they expect it, and people start outperforming, and your business starts to grow.
And let's hit on, because you just mentioned people.
Yeah.
And the mindset, right? So
Sure.
we got the mindset, we got the people.
Yeah.
How important is partnerships and collaboration when it comes to scaling your companies outside of just the people component? Like you mentioned partners, right? Like in an LLC.
Of course. I mean, let's be honest. most people tell themselves, I've been burned by a partner, I got screwed by a partner, I got taken advantage by a partner, I'm not a partnership person. Like that, I hear that all the time. And I just went into life being a partner. I'm a twin, so I like literally was born with a natural person that I had to look, we had to share things. I had to share a birthday. We had to share things. Like I never looked at it like it's all me. And in business, it's the same way. It's just like a marriage. I mean, like every marriage takes work from both parties. Every partnership takes work from all the parties. And I think one of the mindsets is that you have to just accept I'm a good partner and start developing the characteristics and attributes of what a good partner is. It's just like, I'm a good husband. What does that mean? Well, go figure it out. Being a good partner in business, you got to figure it out, because every part of the success in our companies has come from the partnership model. Everything. Partners are literally everything to me. My partners are everything. I look out for them, they look out for me, and that's how we've grown our businesses. So, what's the partnership model? Like, how does that actually work? Well, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, but basically, you have to find partners who are committed to the long-term success of what you're creating. And you have to find partners who are literally a core value fit for you, okay? So a lot of times partnerships dissolve because they're not committed to the long-term success of the partnership. Someone's got an ego or someone's got some ulterior motive. They're going for a certain number or want a certain amount of money per year, et cetera. And they're not willing to sacrifice for the good of the business. And then other times, like literally, the partnership came together because people were like, well, we're friends or something. Or, hey, this is someone that I like working with. And they fundamentally aren't good core value fit. So I've just spent a lot of my time as I've grown my businesses putting out to in the world what my core values are. And I found that naturally people are attracted to those core values. And it also has the repulsing mechanism. People that aren't attracted to those core values, they don't find their way into partnership with me. But you've got to be clear and you've got to be deliberate about it. So I guess the starting point is to be a good partner and to make partnerships work, you've got to know what your strengths are. You've got to know what your weaknesses are. You've got to know what your core values are. And people just don't take the time to think about these things. But when you start thinking about these things, it actually makes it easier to find the right types of partnerships.
Well, I mean, you're, again, a wealth of information, and hopefully our audience is soaking this up, because this is great information you're providing us today. But Business Builder Insights is also a big component of what we talk about is embracing the entrepreneurial operating system.
Sure.
Brent Oetken and his segment Traction is about taking these pieces of the pie and putting them to use within our business.
Yeah.
How important is EOS or other models a factor in your success of your companies?
I mean, it's everything. It really has transformed our businesses to take on an operating system. In fact, a friend of mine was generous and kind enough to call me up one day, and it's been like 8 years, and he said, well, what operating system are you using in your business? And I guess I'd pose the question to everyone that's listening. What operating system are you using in your business? Do you have an operating system? And I was like, what do you mean, like an operating system? Like, he's like, yeah, what operating system are you using? At the time, he was using the Scaling Up framework by Vern Harnish, and which is what we self-implemented in our companies. And then we migrated to the EOS system with Gino Wickman. And so, yeah, if you're not using an operating system, then you're doing a disservice to yourself as a leader. You're doing a disservice to your management teams and their growth. You're doing a disservice to your entire organization. So we love EOS. It's simple. It's a basic framework. We use it across all of our companies. And I've heard the word transformational used more surrounding our implementation of EOS in the different companies than any other thing. And that's coming from our people. They literally say EOS has transformed our businesses.
And there's no, it's not like it's a secret sauce or
go online and figure it out. But I mean, there's some keys to it. Like we self-implemented for a few years, and I think a lot of people are like, well, I'm smart enough to kind of put it together, read the books. But we use an implementer, and that's changed everything for us. So, I mean, I guess what's transformed is when we actually used the implementer and brought them in and spent that money. The best money we've ever spent in the business is on hiring an implementer for EOS. I mean, I just have to say it. Like, it just is the truth.
Yeah. Well, and that's great, and obviously it's been important for us and our audience to get an understanding of the introduction of what is EOS, how important, and it provides that structure, right? Because there's so many pieces, and we often, entrepreneurs, wear multiple hats, which we have to start releasing that responsibility to team members. But it just provides that structure so where it's manageable.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that the framework of EOS and really getting into the cadence of EOS, it empowers the team to solve the problems that you as the business owner think you have to solve. And the truth is, when you empower the team to solve those problems, then you always get to the right answer. And not that you always make the right decisions, but when you make the wrong decision collectively as a team, then you can pivot and change and get to the right answer. Because when you're run with this authoritarian, I'm the business owner, I'm the boss, I make all the decisions, then when you make the wrong decision, you don't have people don't have they don't have your back. And all of a sudden, it's political, and you're like, well, I'm smart enough, we're going down this path, and you start like, human nature, we're stubborn, we do the wrong things. When you have the team making collective decisions, and it's not like the committee makes all the decisions, because I hate committees. It's not like that. It's not groupthink, but it's empowering the best decision making and the problem solving and the solutions to come from anybody on the team. It's really going deep inside of the organization to find answers to the problems that you face, and not thinking that you as the business owner have to solve every problem. And that transforms a company.
And fundamentally, it's going to be very difficult to be able to scale multiple companies or build other companies without implementing a model that you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's impossible.
Right.
Like, you couldn't do that if, like, I guess, take it back, like go back a few years, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. I kind of didn't embrace the fact that I was this serial entrepreneur with multiple businesses, because I felt like people that knew me as like this guy over here in this business versus this business, they might think, oh gosh, is he spreading himself too thin? Gosh, can he really do that? And the truth is, you can only do it if you have a partnership approach. You can only do it if you have a great operating system. You can only do it if you have the right mentalities and the right systems and the right processes. So yeah, it's everything. And I see a lot of business owners who just are burnt out. They're burnt out. And they naturally believe that the only solution is to sell. And I've heard it, I've seen it. It's like, I've got to sell my business and go find another business. I mean, how many times have I heard that? Like, I'm just burned out here, and I got to sell it and go find something else. And I'm like, why would you sell it and go find something else? Why don't you use your existing business as the platform to go do other things? Like, most business owners, most entrepreneurs, they're always tinkering with something, but they don't have time to turn that tinkering into a real business because they're so bogged down in the details of their current company. You've got to set yourself free. And the only way to do that is to shed the wrong mentalities. And the truth is, it's not just mentalities. It's actually change your behavior. Change the way you do business. Change the way that you approach your people. Change the way you think about everything, but more importantly, change the way you do things. That's everything.
That's great. We talked about it just a few minutes ago, a little bit about funding, and I want to. It's probably one of the number one questions that we get asked is around funding for small, medium-sized business owners out there. So, do you have any advice? And every business is different. We understand
for sure.
But do you have any advice when it comes to funding, whether it's bootstrapping, seeking out investors? What's your advice on funding?
I mean, I've done it all.
Yeah.
So I've raised millions of dollars to businesses, and I've bootstrapped others. So I've seen all the wrong ways to raise capital, and I've seen some of the right ways to raise capital. And I think, first of all, not every problem is solved with money. In fact, most problems are not solved with money. And a lot of people get into a mindset that if I just had X number of dollars, my problems would be solved. And that's not usually the case. I've found that the best time to raise capital is when there's predictability around your business. When you know that a certain dollar into your business leads to a certain dollar out. And if you don't have that equation figured out, it's very difficult to safely raise money. You're not in a position to raise money. You just aren't. This is the way life works. You've got to figure out what that means so that if you hire this person, you're going to get a certain outcome. If you hire another salesperson, you get this outcome. If you invest in something, it's going to lead to something predictable. You've got to create predictability around what the dollars are going to be used for. And instead of going all out, instead of going to raise a bunch of money, you should take very small bets. See, I never bet the farm. I never put myself in a position where I have to go all in and bet the farm. I never put it all on the line. I'm always doing little experiments along the way that help me solve some of these equations and help us have more sure confidence and just knowledge around what money will do when we have it. And just always getting in the habit of looking at all the options of where your money can go. In fact, that's one of the things is, maybe it doesn't exactly relate to this, but your biggest cost as an entrepreneur and as a business owner is your opportunity cost. So the day you decide, I got to raise capital and we're going down this path, then you foreclose the options of all these other paths that may be out there. So doing experimentation and having multiple places where you're feeding actually is a better route than just going and raising millions of dollars and thinking that that's going to solve all your problems. But there are great times to raise capital. And when you've got the equation figured out and you know when you got $1 in, it leads to $3 out, then that's a great time to go raise money. Absolutely.
Well, Blake, I can't believe how fast a half an hour segment happens. It feels like we just got started. But for all those people who are watching today, especially those business owners out there wanting to scale, wanting to take it to the next level, what's one piece of advice that you really want them to take away today on what they should be doing to reach their dreams and hit that scale?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I preach mostly replace yourself. Let that sink in. Replace yourself. Don't sell your business. Don't get sidetracked in other things until you replace yourself. Okay, see yourself as a coach and a mentor and an advisor to your people. Really take their success personally. And when you take the success of your people personally and you grow talent around you, then you win. It's that simple. So I think that's been a key to where I've been able to get to, and I think it's a key to the future of where I want to go.
And it really resonates when you think about it, but it's also counterintuitive to what we're almost taught at a young age about what we need to do to be successful, right? You go drive, you go to school, you go learn, you become the expert, but it's actually it's the opposite. It's not that it's important, but it's replace yourself, right? And
I know we're so independent, and we got here because we proved everyone wrong. We took risks that other people weren't willing to take, and no one can understand. No one understands this business because I started it, or no one understands because I'm the expert. But the truth is that mentality is preventing you from having the success that you want to have.
Well, thank you, Blake. Again, I
Absolutely.
enjoy talking with you, and I appreciate all you do for our community. You're always been available for entrepreneurs.
I still am. If there's anything, please let me know. I'd love you guys to reach out. If you have questions, want to know more about what I'm up to or how I can help you, it's free. I just love to help business owners in the Treasure Valley. I love to see them win.
And if you'd like to learn more about Blake, we encourage you to learn more by looking at his different companies that we have displayed. You could contact Blake and learn more about Alturas at alturas.com. We have some email and some phone information for you, but definitely reach out, look at Blake's companies and all that they're doing in the community. Appreciate you, Blake.
Thanks,
appreciate
Nick.
it again for taking the time today to be with us.
Absolutely.
So earlier in the show, we talked about Business Builder Day coming up on May 6th. And today we have a special guest who will tell us a little more about the exclusive VIP event for business owners happening that day. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back after these messages.
So, you're a business owner, or the marketing director, or the PR guy, maybe even lead of sales. Problem is, you're likely all of these things and need Iliad Media Group to help you be heard and found. Get back to business as usual. You probably think you can handle all of the demanding marketing requirements to succeed in today's business world, telling yourself, it's fine if I miss some things. I can do it myself. I don't need help. My cousin's a graphic designer. Realistically, there's just way too much to do for one person. You need a team that can help get you found online, place your marketing in front of the right demographic, have your message heard by real people, be transparent about insights and reporting, craft a clear story for your brand, help grow your bottom line, and advise you as marketing specialists who have your best interest in mind. Whew. I think you know where I'm going with this. Introducing Iliad Media Group. We do the unusual so you can get back to business as usual.
Wow, BBSI, where have you been these last 15 years in my life? Hi, my name is Mia Paulus, and I am the CEO of an outsourcing company called The Center. We have been looking for a strategic partner to help us with compliance for our clients, specifically payroll, HR, workers' comp, and safety. After meeting with Jason a couple of times, it was great to know a company cared as much about entrepreneurs and executives as we do. I learned how much BBSI cares about the success of businesses they work with, and we are experiencing fast growth here at the Center, and I'm excited to see what BBSI and the Center can do together to simplify business for our clients so they can have the success and the quality of life that they deserve.
All right, welcome back. I'm joined on the stage with Travis Brown, Business Development Director for Givent, and we're here to talk a little bit about Business Builder Day happening on May 6th. So again, we talked about we're going to have keynotes, seminars, and workshops, and we're going to be showcasing a lot of companies. So it's a great event for people to come, and a business-to-business event for people to interact with each other. And we're so excited to get in-person events back going here in May. But we also have a special event that's happening, and it's an exclusive VIP event happening from 3 to 5 that day. And first of all, Travis, welcome to the stage here. But can you tell us a little bit about this exclusive VIP networking event we have?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you, Nick. It's a pleasure to be able to work with you. And, listening to Blake was kind of deja vu. I think you and I had talked about it a little bit. That's how you and I got connected, is through Blake. So he definitely practices what he preaches, and it was fun to listen and learn from him. Regarding the event, Givent believes in going a little bit deeper. Good things happen when good people connect and invest time in serving each other. And Gevent is able to facilitate a networking event in such a way that it's comfortable, it makes sense, and it's facilitated such that you're able to connect and learn about each other personally, then professionally, learn a little bit about their business, what it makes, what makes it tick, some of the behind the scenes insights and whatnot. But then what keeps you awake at night? What is it that you as a leader or you as a business need, and how can others help you? And then there's time that's invested in being able to figure all that out and work together. So as you're sitting across the table from 4 to 5 to other people that have been there, done that, and you start to get vulnerable with each other, you're able to get down and really help each other in a meaningful way.
And so this networking event that you'll have at Business Builder Day, and we've been showing a little bit, for the audience, a slide on a little bit more of the details, but you're getting business owners together and talking about those problems, but you're also solving these problems together with like-minded business owners. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. You're able to make connections that mean something. You get past the facade of mixing and mingling and build those relationships of trust. And once that happens and you start to learn about what somebody else needs, then you're able to tap into your resources, your past experience, deep dive question, and understand really how can I help other business owners and executives. And that's fun. It's fun to help each other. In return, you're getting insights and suggestions from 5 other business owners that, again, have been there, done that, and it's invaluable. Those experiences and those conversations and the solutions that come as a result of that you can't get anywhere else.
And this is only limited to a select few because there's only so many seats that you could have at this. So, but again, if we could flash up that slide again, I think they could scan to go ahead and purchase their ticket because it's $25 for a business owner to attend.
That's correct.
They get a seat at the table, and there's only 35 seats that you have available, and I know some are already gone, so we only have a few left. But and then obviously there's always good food that you have. So, But anything else that you want to mention regarding this event?
No, definitely excited to facilitate it. Again, for those that have not been able to experience Gevent, I think they'll come away saying that's different. That was not what I expected. And to your point, there is some good that's going to come from that, solutions to maybe some challenges that have been dwelling and stewing on for a while, and they'll be able to get resolved there pretty quickly as they interact with other business owners through this facilitated event. And yes, Nick, you're right. I mean, there's got to be food and snacks, something to nibble on for us to be able to engage our brains and really connect, right? So yeah, that's always a part of what we do.
Well, I have been a part of this in years past as well. You've been a big supporter of Business Builder Day, so we appreciate Gevent and all that you do. And we're looking forward to this event on May 6th. I know we weren't able to do it last year. We're ready to get back on it again, but we appreciate you being here, telling us a little bit more about this, and we look forward to seeing you on May 6th. Travis, thanks again, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Well, we've reached the traction portion of the show, and this is where we give you the tools and applications that you could start using immediately within your business. And today, Brent Oetken will be breaking down the process component as it relates to the Entrepreneurial Operating System, or EOS. So Brent, again, will be introducing concepts today like Level 10 meetings, 100% strong, and rocks. So if you feel your company is lacking in understanding or implementing processes, you won't want to miss this segment. We'll be right back with Brent Oetken. Thank you.
You know BBSI for the expertise and support our local business partners provide. Now discover an enhanced level of access and control with MyBBSI, a proprietary online portal that puts the power of information into the hands of you and your team. Streamline your human resources activities with 100% paperless onboarding. Simplify payroll with direct integration of data from TimeNet. Then calculate and process payroll in minutes. Put your data to work for you with powerful reporting tools and discover new insights into your business operations. Discover what MyBBSI can do for your organization. Call or write today to speak with a specialist.
Welcome to the Traction segment. I want to start out by saying that successful businesses are alike, and unsuccessful businesses are unsuccessful in a myriad of ways. That comes from a quote that Dr. Roger Hall put in his book, Staying Happy, Being Productive, the 10 things that successful people do. And when you look at your business, there's really six key areas to your business that you really have to just strengthen. Blake talked about that in his interview, which was fantastic. And the thing I really love about Blake's presentation is he's coming from experience. He's done it, he's experienced it, he's lived it, and there's so much we can grab from that. So let's start out with what are the 6 key components, and then we're going to dive in, like Nick said, and we're going to talk about the process component and the traction component. So first of all is your vision. You've got to be clear on what is your vision. What are you trying to accomplish? Where are you going? Who are you as a company? What is your heart and soul of your organization? And what are you about? What is it you're wanting to accomplish within the life of your company? And everybody needs to be on board with that. They need to share that vision with you. It's very important that you're not just doing it on your own, like Blake said, that you're actually bringing people on board with you to help you achieve that vision. Now, you're not going to be able to achieve that vision without great people. And so you need to understand, what does great people mean for your organization? The people for one organization is completely different from the people that are needed for another organization. Core values is a key element of this. The core values of your organization, who you want to surround yourself with, who you want to bring into your organization, but also who do you want to keep from coming into the organization. You also need to make sure you have the right structure. You need to understand what is the structure for the organization so that we can grow to where we need to grow, as opposed to just building the business around the people that we have, or just throwing people into the mix and hoping it all works out. The third thing that successful businesses do is that they really focus in on the data component. They really look at what is really happening in the business. They cut through the egos, the emotions, the subjectives, and they really dig in to say, what's happening? What's really going on? What are the numbers that are going to help us make sure that we're achieving our vision, that we're on track, or perhaps that we're off track? And so when you're clear on the vision, when you've got the people component strong and the data component strong, you've created such great clarity in the organization that anything that's not right, any obstacles or barriers or issues, are going to just stand out like a sore thumb. And that's all right, because great leaders are just really good at solving their issues. So you want to be able to draw those issues out and to be able to solve those issues. We talked about the issues component in a previous session, but we'll dig a little bit more as we talk about the traction component. Next is the process component, and this is just simply the handful of core processes, your recipe, if you will, your franchise model maybe, of how do you do what you do, the bright and best way to do what you do. And you want to strengthen this component because this is pivotal to the success and your ability to scale and grow the business. And finally, we have the traction component, and this is all about that execution of everything that we're talking about, the accountability and discipline to make that vision a reality. And great businesses are just really good at being able to execute. And so this makes up the EOS model, but these 6 key components are in your business today. Whether you're using EOS or not using EOS, you can strengthen these 6 key components however you choose to strengthen these 6 key components. The idea is to get 100% strong, or as close to 100% as you can. And so when I work with my clients, my goal is to get them to 80% or better, because honestly, perfection, 100%, is really the death of getting things done. So I'm looking for 80% or better, and looking at all the components, not just picking 1 or 2. Now, let's dig into the process component specifically. The process component is all about understanding your recipe, your right way of doing what you do. And there's 2 elements to the process component. First is you need to document your core processes. There's just a handful of core processes in any company. Things like your HR process, how you find and attract talent, how do you onboard and retain your employees. Your marketing process of how do you get prospective clients in and get that brand awareness of your company. You have the sales process of how you convert those leads into customers. You may have a handful or a couple of operations processes of how you build the product or deliver the service. How do you take care of your customers? You have an accounting process. How do you handle the money flowing in and out of the business, and the budgeting and the forecasting and that sort of thing? Perhaps a customer service process. The point here is that there's a handful of core processes, and what we're not talking about is creating these huge binders full of all these documents, all these procedures. What we're talking about is looking at the 20% of these processes that we can document that's going to get us 80% of the way there. Again, we don't need to get to 100%. We're not looking at the how to do what we're doing. We're talking about what needs to get done and making sure that those things are followed. So that gets us to followed by all. Everybody needs to follow that same process. And when you do that, you're able to just bring in employees that can help. You can attract talent that's going to be able to get onboarded quickly and be very successful rapidly with the business. You don't have to have rock stars and unicorns that can come in and just inherently know all this. You can get them a process that they can follow and that they can be successful, and your service delivery is going to be consistent, your quality of service, your customer satisfaction is going to go through the roof. So that's the process component, and strengthening the process component, getting up to 100% strong, 80% or better. Let's look at the traction component. Now, the traction component is all about that execution. It's getting things done, and we like to get things done. But oftentimes we're just super busy. We're just wrapped up in all the day-to-day of getting things done and getting through the day, and we're not being very strategic about how do we get things done. So there's a couple of different components or elements to this component: rocks and meeting pulse. So let's tackle the rocks component or the element first. So rocks are just simply quarterly priorities. They're the 3 to 7 most important things that must get done this quarter. So you may or may not have heard of Stephen Covey's example, but I'll share it here. If you look at the jar on the left-hand side, it's kind of overflowing. This probably feels like our day half the time. There are different elements here. So you have the rocks. Those are the big priorities, the things that you really want to get done. You have pebbles, which are just your day-to-day tasks, the things that you just need to do for your daily work. You have sand, which is your daily interruptions, and then water, which is just everything else. And if you put the water in, then you put the sand in, you put the pebbles in, the rocks don't fit. They stick out over top. And think about your daily life. You've got these things you want to accomplish. Maybe you've had some initiatives that you've wanted to do or some projects you've wanted to get done for maybe years, and they just never seem to get done. I had a client that going through this process had a procedure manual that he wanted to do, or a process that he wanted to do for his projects. He just never put it together because he never found the time to do it. But going through this process, he made it a priority. He gave himself permission to actually work on that project. He put it into his schedule, and he actually got it done in just like a couple of weeks. This is something he'd wanted to do for, I think, 5 years, and he could never get to it. And the reality was once he got that project done, it actually helped him a lot because it gave him margin, and it helped speed up the process, so he wasn't having to just rush to get things done. So when you do rocks right, what you're saying is, let's put the rocks in first. Let's focus on those priorities first. Then we could put in the pebbles. Then we can put in the sand. And then we can put in the water. And it all just seems to fit. And it doesn't seem like it should, but it does. And so I challenge you to, when you're looking at rocks, is to really focus on setting those priorities. When you work with your leadership team, set them together as a team. Don't set yours individually. Come together as a team and say, okay, what do we need to do for the greater good of the business? Remember, this is one component out of 6. You've got to have the people component, the vision component, the data component. All of those need to be strong so that you can set good rocks for the quarter. Now, the next thing is the meeting pulse. There's a couple of elements here that I want to share. So first of all, as a business owner, whether you're a solopreneur or you have 1,000 people in your organization, you really need to be taking time away annually to really look at what's going on in the business, what happened last year, maybe do a SWOT analysis of our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. Really extract any issues you can, anything that's holding you back, any opportunities you have going forward. Really take time to dig into that and to grow as a team and to put your plan together for the coming year. You also need to then look at your quarterly priorities and say, okay, so what do we need to do every quarter? How do we get the team away, leadership team out, away from the office, one day a quarter, to really look at how did we do this last quarter, where are we at and where are we going? Setting up our priorities for the next quarter and being able to solve the issues that we need to solve. And then finally, you need to be able to meet weekly and solve issues on a weekly basis and stay connected on a weekly basis. Now what happens is there's kind of 3 different ways that we operate in a business. So if you imagine you have people, they're represented by these circles. Sometimes they never connect. Sometimes, or maybe they just bounce off each other every once in a while. And everybody's kind of doing their own thing. Other times, the circles are all stacked on top of each other, and everybody's duplicating effort, and they're just on top of each other and smothering each other, and that's very frustrating. What you really are looking for is how do we keep the circles connected so that there's enough connection, there's enough information transferring back and forth, but we're not smothering ourselves, we're not duplicating effort. And so that's where we get into this next tool, the meeting polls. The level 10 meeting is our weekly meeting. Now, why do we call it a level 10? If you think about your meetings, so think about your internal meetings right now with your leadership team or just with your staff. If you were to rate your meeting of how effective it is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being best, where would you rate your meeting? Now, what I find is most people is they rate it between a 4 and a 6. They're kind of really mediocre meetings. And I think this is why we all tend to hate meetings, is because our meetings just aren't very effective. And so this tool that I'm going to share with you, the level 10 meeting, is all about how do we get that up to a 10? Again, we're not shooting for perfection, so 8 to 10 is where we should be. Anything below an 8, we need to be solving that issue and finding out what's going on. So the level 10 meeting agenda is as such. You're going to start out with some good news. You're going to share a piece of personal good news, a piece of business good news. Just get connected as a team. The next 3 are all about reporting. So we're going to report on our scorecard. Are we on track or off track? We're not going to talk about it. We're just going to report on it. Same thing with our rocks. Are our rocks on track or off track? And we report on those. Anything that's not right or anything that's off track, anything that we want to talk about, we drop it down to the issues list. And then finally, the customer and employee headline, same thing. What are the main things that are happening in the headline? We're not talking about it here. If we want to talk about it, drop it down to the issues list. And then we go through our to-do list. So this is our weekly list of action items, things that we need to get done for the week. And we just want to go through, are they done or not done? Anything that's not done needs to be dropped down to the issues list, or anything we want to talk about. 90% of these should be coming off every week. And then that leaves us 60 minutes of this 90-minute meeting for solving issues. And we've talked about issue solving in a previous session, so I won't get into that a lot here. But what you want to do is prioritize your issues, 1, 2, 3, and then take the first one and solve it. Use the issue solving track, IDS. And then once that's solved, go to the next one, solve that issue, go to the next one, so on and so forth. When you've gotten through the first 3, prioritize another 3 and repeat that, rinse and repeat, if you will. What you'll find is some weeks you'll get through 1 issue, other weeks you'll get through 10 issues, but just keep doing this process. You'll be amazed at how you accomplish the issues, solve the issues, and really solve them to make them go away forever. Now, we want to make sure we keep this on time, so 5 minutes to the end we want to wrap up and conclude so that we don't run into other meetings. Now there's 5 key elements that make this successful. First is this needs to be the same day. It needs to be at the same time every week. So you don't want to move this meeting around. Same day, same time. It needs to start on time. It needs to end on time, so it's not running into other meetings and we're not late getting into this meeting. And we need to use the same agenda. This level 10 meeting agenda is what I use with my clients, and it is amazing in what it does for their ability to strengthen this traction component. So these are the 6 key components. This is the EOS model, but regardless of whether you use EOS or any other system, you want to get 100% strong in each of these components. Now there's 2 books here. I have them next to me as well, but Traction is the book that you've probably heard about undoubtedly. It talks about the EOS system. Get a Grip is another great book that is more of a story form and walks you through what it looks like to implement EOS into a business. I'll say the best thing is to really take time with your leadership team and actually walk through the process. And so if you have questions or you'd like to learn more about EOS, I'd be happy to sit down with you and your leadership team, spend 90 minutes, walk you through the 6 key components, the tools that you can use to strengthen those components, and how do you move forward. I want to leave you with this. It is possible for you to get what you want from your business if you strengthen the 6 key components of your business. Thank you.
If you're looking to grow your bottom line, join us to gain resources on growth strategies, social media, fraud protection, workplace culture, hiring, and more. Register to attend Business Builder Day, a free event for business professionals, May 6th at the Galaxy Event Center.
All right, I want to thank you again for joining us today. That was a great segment. Thank you, Blake, Travis, and Brent. I'd like to invite you back for our last segment, Simplifying for Success, on April 27th, where Brent Oetken will be walking through a little bit more on the final stages of that EOS. So we invite you back again, April 27th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Thanks again for joining us today, and have a great rest of the week. Thank you.